What's your biggest fear? Elevators, boats, fridges? No to all that. Let me tell you about something more horrific. Let me tell you about the Slaughterhouse Canyon in Arizona. Hey, welcome to Curious X, a series on the channel where I read legends and get your opinions about them. Hope you're having a great day, and we're gonna jump straight into it. Peace. Our story takes place in the town of Kingman, Arizona. This land holds an important history due to military camps being there and also being a reservation to Native Americans. Unlike other stories I've read on the channel, this story was made up by trauma, hunger, and even madness. With the first people settled in this area, it was called the Luana Canyon, named after the impoverished family. They lived in a small wooden shack in the heart of the canyon. One would think the dangers of living out there would be a main concern of the family, but it wasn't. Mr. Luana wanted to provide a better life for his wife and kids, so he would venture into the mountains and mine for money in the search for food. Even though the family didn't know this is what sealed their fate, the family had limited food from the expeditions, so the food they would get was only from the expeditions. Meaning, like, once that was done, if dad wasn't back with the food, you better hope he come back soon, bro. The miners will ride their mule and head for the northwestern mountains. It isn't agreed upon on how long they were gone for. Some accounts say the father would be gone for 2 weeks. Others say he would leave every 2 weeks. This was normal in their time because they lived in the gold rush. This was an era where metals was the get rich method, basically. And regardless of that, the family only way to get food, money, and supplies were from the miners coming back from their expeditions, which is very risky because the family's very survival were relying on the trips and what the miners would bring back. But what sounds too good usually is too good. And on one critical day, the miner hugged his kids and kissed his wife to unfortunately not return. Weeks passed and Luana heard no word from her husband. As the supplies thinned, so did the family mental state. Days started melting together for the family. Helplessly waiting, the wife couldn't help but think something happened to her husband. If he had fallen ill, if he had got hurt, or even worse, slain by a wild animal. Luana's reliance on her husband's consistency meant she wasn't responsible enough to ration the food, and soon the husband absent finally took effect. Barely recognizable, the children began to wither. In such tremendous pain, their screams were heard all over the canyon. Their constant begging took a toll on Luana's mentality, and on one fateful day, she couldn't deal with it anymore. Hearing their stomachs growl, hearing them beg for food, eventually the children's weeps and cries for protection and help turns into bitter noises for Luana. And during the thunderstorm, Luana did the unthinkable, putting on her wedding dress and slaughtering her kids. Da, da, da. With her mind being lost, she chops her children into pieces, spilling and splattering blood all over the shack, giving our legend its name. After committing this sinful act, she carries their remains and tosses them in the river. Being unable to cope, she collapses by the river in her now turned red wedding dress, screaming and weeping until she gave in to her hunger, eventually passing away the next morning. Legend has it, if you're brave enough and go at night, you'll hear the screams and cries of the Luana family. Bum, bum, bum. Out of all the legends I've covered so far, this is by far the best one. It was like reading a short thriller novel, reading all the material surrounding this. From the dad being gone and the mom losing her sanity, this legend was top tier, and in a weird way, the most human one I've read so far. Not only was it horrific and terrifying, but it's a tone of sadness to come with it. Imagine losing your father and not knowing where he is. That must have been truly terrifying for them, and I know it was especially as hard on the mother, not being able to provide for her children like she wanted. To not do too much blabbing, this legend, in my opinion, was just sad, but also very heartfelt for me, because everything weighs on our parents, and if they're gone, our kingdom, our legacy will collapse on itself. If you made it this far, give me your opinion on the legend in the comments down below, and also like and subscribe because I enjoy doing these. And have a good day and a good evening and a good night. Peace.